I'm not letting guys off the hook, right? And so, I mean, you got to put it out there and say, guys, listen, man, you've been letting her do this. You've been rewarding her for
Yep.
mistreating you for 20 years. How do you undo that? Listen, man, when you start apologizing for stuff that you shouldn't be apologizing for, if you're diminishing yourself, you're losing your identity. That's what it's all about. It's like the worst part is not that you're disappointing her or that she might leave. The worst part is that you are absolutely destroying yourself when you're not living up to your values, right? So you start to feel that internal shame, and you're not doing yourself justice. You're not giving yourself that confidence when you hold on to those values. When you
Hmm.
apologize for being who you are. Listen, man, when you start apologizing and compromising your values, kill you inside as well, and that's what I hope people try to avoid. Just because somebody tells you that you're being mean doesn't mean you're being mean. It's not cruel to be direct and tell people, listen, I don't have that $500 right now. Or listen, I it's really important. I've been going to my softball games for 6 years. That's very, very important to me right now. It's not
Yep.
cruel to tell people, to tell women that you're just simply not available on Thursday night. Not mean. You're not, whatever else women call us for for doing that. So I'm trying to unlearn, some of those things, or help people to unlearn some of the, nasty garbage that they've been taught. But yeah, or especially early on, if you're asking for permission, hey, would you mind if I go hang out with my friends or something like that? It's totally fine to say, listen, I understand that, you might be a little bit upset, or it's going to take up some of my time, but it's important for me to do this. So that's what I'm going to do. One of the things that I really wanted to do with this rules of engagement series is take psychological theories, right? Some theoretical background in everything, to support the chapter content. Strength is not cruel. That comes from assertiveness theory, and I'll just give you a couple of lines directly from that chapter. Research from Sampson and Frost teaches us that failure to assert yourself early because you're afraid of being cruel leads to miscommunication, power struggles, and emotional fatigue. Right. So what I really wanted to do was say, listen, this is not just me coming up with these things. Yes, this is an issue that I've had or that have come up in my relationship, but it's not just me and my experience coming in. I think there's like 250 different citations in the full book, spanning all the way back to the 1920s, 1940s, something like that. So that was one of the really, really kind of powerful things I wanted to put in here. Here's the source material from a study that was done 5 years ago or 20 years ago, and to give men the confidence to understand, oh shit, you know what, it actually is kind of it not only not harmful, it's actually helpful for me to hold these boundaries. If you've been pushed around for the last 5 years, 10, 15, 30 years, it is going to be so difficult. I would say nearly even impossible to
Mhm.
get into a situation in which she starts respecting your boundaries and to get out of that. And a large part of this chapter and others throughout is operant conditioning. Listen, you've just spent 15 years teaching and training this woman how to treat you, right? So
Mhm.
none of what I try to do in this entire what will be the entire series is I'm not letting guys off the hook, right? And so, I mean, you got to put it out there and say, guys, listen, man, you've been letting her do this. You've been rewarding her for
Yep.
mistreating you for 20 years. How do you undo that? If it were me, I'd rather start over. I'd rather just leave, start over with somebody else rather than try to change a woman after 20 years of that. I wouldn't even try. And this is where a lot of my experience or my personal interest, I'll say, is poured into my writing. Man, I was naive. I didn't speak with a lot of conviction, when I was younger and everything. But now I understand and maybe even overcompensate a little bit with not apologizing and with not tolerating disrespect, those kinds of things. If it was recent, I'd say take some time. It's wonderful being being alone and being single. I'd say become a student and know what to expect. Right. So one of the things, you'll see, for those of you who go download the chapter, again, look for that link. For every topic within the chapter, I give responses. Hey, if this happens and you want to continue the relationship, here's a type of a response that you could give her. Here's a response you can give her to end the relationship. So what I really want to do is get guys prepared. Hey, if you're going to go out there, know what you're getting into. So you're not surprised. And I think that's one of the most challenging thing for guys who are getting back into the game is they get out there. Women tell them that, hey, you know what, I don't do coffee dates. I don't go to the beach. I don't go on walks. Going to happen. But when you start to understand and anticipate and just know it's part of the process, they're going to mistreat you. They're going to expect you to pay for their Uber over to the restaurant, and which I would never do. But I think a lot of frustration can be alleviated, if not eliminated, by just understanding that this is going to happen. For guys that are getting back into the game, I think you can save a lot of frustration if you just understand what's going to happen. And so when it does, you're either prepared or you just simply know what's coming, and you can just shrug it off or whatever response that you want. But yeah, know what's coming if you're getting back into the game. When it comes to dating profiles, there's a part in a different chapter where I discuss sarcasm, and my point is, sarcasm is not a strength. Like, and you'll see so many women on with their dating profiles. I speak fluent sarcasm. I'm like, why? Well, like that's not sexy. It's not funny. Sarcasm is. It can, you get your little inside jokes here and there, between you. Sometimes it can be a little flirty and something. But when a woman leaves her dating profile with "I speak fluent sarcasm," no, absolutely not. Unless get out there and just like date. Don't get to just learn, just get used to what's happening, and just like I said, be a student of the of the game, I guess. Back to the cognitive dissonance kind of thing. If your value is, hey, you know what, and this is my situation. This is one of the things that frustrates me about dating, especially down here in South Florida. They're a different breed than they were up in Chicago. Is I got a late start in my career. I was in my 40s, when I started the career that I'm in right now. After my divorce in my early 30s in the younger kids, I spent the next I spent about the next 8 years in college. So I was in my early 40s when I finished college. I've only been in the career, the type of work that I'm doing right now, for about about 10 years, right? So and so when I'm out dating, I don't have, let me say, I prefer to not spend $500 on a date on a stranger, right? This is a woman, right? You said it was a first date. I don't know you. You're a stranger, and that's I think the mindset that we need to keep in mind is, I don't know you. The cognitive dissonance part. So when I was dating, and women would want me to do that, and I did it a couple of times. I went out with a woman twice, and each time was over $200 in like less than a week. That's $400. That's a car payment for me, and I didn't want to do it. I knew that because what I do is I pay, because I got such a late start in my career, I'm paying additional money on my mortgage every month, so I can get it paid off before I die, in my car, and all these things. And so when we're acting in ways that are incongruent with our values, right? I didn't want to do that. I would prefer to take that money and put it on my mortgage, rather than take out a woman that I don't know. It really does make you feel really shitty inside. You're right. You lose your own self-worth, your own self-value, and it's just a terrible, terrible thing to do to yourself. So again, that I think I give a couple of examples like that in this chapter, but certainly throughout the book, about there was times I'm like, yeah, I'm sorry, I don't think I could do that, and I really want to, I was looking forward to doing this, with my money, and looking back, man, I shouldn't. Because again, that's how people end up in the situation 20 years later. You let that thing slip once or twice, you've created a monster, and it's so hard to get out of, unless that's why it's so important to start off early, man. It really is.